Hello, peculiars. It is lovely to be here with you. And I just want you to know that because I wanted this to be really authentic, I made sure that I had a headache today. So, yeah, I've got one right now. Should be really interesting. Anyway, we've got a lot of you here. I see Leanne is here, and we've got our lovely friend Stephanie Book Frolic. Amanda says hello from wildly on fire, Utah. Fortunately, no fires here in Ogden. Good. And I know that there is so much physicality in our colloquial language. It seeps into our unconsciousness. What a pain, right? Literally. So I am very excited to have with us today a very lovely guest who is writing about something that I think matters to a lot of us, so much so that Davey actually invested some time. And we're gonna hear a lot about some interesting things he came up with for our video today.
That's right. Tom made us think deeply about pain and the nature of pain. And so we might have a video, a sketch in the middle of this episode that might deal with that and might improve on that a little bit.
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing overall. Also, it says Rachel is here under her boyfriend's name. We got that messed up last night. Hi, Rachel. So it's good to have all of you here. And again, I'm hoping you have questions because I am guessing that y'all have had some headaches. I feel like probably. And we can talk about headaches. I think headaches is going to just be a general discussion, but also we have someone with us who's done a deep dive and has a lot of personal experience about headaches as well. So without further ado, I would like to invite Tom Zeller. Hello, Tom.
Amazing.
How are you?
I'm great, and I just absolutely love that stop motion opening.
Oh, did you like it?
I want to see it over and over and over again. Yes.
It's really funny because, of course, having made it, I find all of my mistakes in it, and I'm just like, I should have done this, I should have done that. But don't worry, making new stuff.
Okay, I can't wait for that either. But really, I mean, it's just incredibly impressive. It must have taken. Well, for you, it probably took 15 minutes, but it
takes like a long time. Do you know, one of the benefits of being like super hyper focused is that that was like, I don't know, 900 frames or something ridiculous like that. But I just sit still and don't move for hours at a time when I'm working on stuff. Mm-hmm, so it's like, it doesn't take me that long, only because I'll spend all 700 hours like in a really short period of time. Oh, there's Anthro Girl. She made it. You made it, Anthro Girl.
Yay,
thank you.
Anthro Girl.
And Trent is here too. I've been looking forward to this. I've had severe migraines for years. Fist bump to you there, Randy. Me too.
I feel like everywhere you go, Tom, right? You connect with the other headache, the other migraine, the other cluster headache people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think people don't appreciate how many people actually have some experience with this in one way or another.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just talking to Tom before we got started today that I do have regular migraines. But in addition, I have temporal migrainous affective disorder, which is, I think, a long word for saying we don't really know what this is. But I basically have visual disturbances that come instead of the pain. Sometimes I get the pain too, but I'll have this weird stuff happen. So for years, I would just suddenly be like, why does that look three-dimensional when it's not? Like floors would float and bricks would pop out of walls and all this kind of stuff. I thought I was losing my mind. And it's also another type of headache disorder that you maybe shouldn't drive when it's happening.
Yeah. Did you actually get a diagnosis of that, or did you
I did. In fact,
you did. Okay. Yeah.
I am one of the rare few people who apparently also have a hallucinogenic part of this. And so I would have hallucinations that would happen. I'm in a textbook somewhere anonymously about this because of the weird way in which my brain would overlay reality with things that I had experienced earlier, like in the day or the week.
Wow.
So I remember coming out of my building one day and being like, okay, so that building is not in the town that I live in. That building is in this other town, but then not knowing which town I was in. So I would just like sit down, like, I don't know where I'm at.
Like you were physically looking at the building as if it was there. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Next to a building that was across the street, but also that building was not across the street. And so it was like hallucinations, but in a really ordered fashion.
Yeah. But you also knew looking at it that it was a hallucination.
I did. I knew something was wrong. I couldn't tell what was wrong because I would have aphasia and dysgraphic disorder at the same time. And so it's really hard to think when you can't make words. And so I'd just be like, but yeah, so, I mean, it's not pain, but it's weird. It's heckin' weird.
I mean,
you know?
and some of those symptoms have fidelity with migraine too. I mean, these people think that, it's only about pain, but it really is a lot of a suite of neurological
Right.
symptoms. Yeah.
Leanne says I get confusional migraines, painless but aphasic and anxious. Yeah. So there's
visual
all kinds
disturbances, auditory disturbances, skin sensitivity. Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Right. I mean, and I have, because I'm autistic, like I got a lot of that shit anyway. It's just like, oh great, here's some more things I can deal with. Lovely. But anyway, but I always, when we first start off, I will do some announcements, and we've got questions populating, and you guys keep them coming. That's great. I'm starring them so I can go back and ask them. And also, I would love it if y'all wanted to just pop in with like your own headache stuff, because I think that's really interesting. I just think it is. So feel free to write that in there too. But I usually try to start with a kind of softball question. In this case, my usual softball question is, what led to writing this book? Except I know because you're a headache sufferer, but why? Because I think my question is going to be slightly different. And this is going to be more of a writerly question, which is, it is hard to pitch books in general. And I think, frequently, like I'm autistic, but pitching a book on autism is not necessarily easy. How did you manage to kind of find a through line that captured the imagination and managed to get this book taken up by a publisher? I think that because you're with HarperCollins too. So
yeah. I mean, well, I should say that it didn't start with HarperCollins. I mean, HarperCollins, it started with Houghton Mifflin, which was acquired by HarperCollins partway through the process. But your question is on point regardless. I mean, obviously, I have what's called cluster headache, and I've had it all my life. It's a much more sort of rare and strange condition than migraine,
acute.
Which I think is
really acute.
It's acute, yeah. Unlike not that migraine isn't terribly painful too, but it comes on really fast, and it's a very dramatic sort of. It's the most painful thing I've ever experienced, and I've had some pretty intense surgeries and other painful experiences, but. Yeah, they're a little bit like a lightning bolt to the head, kind of knocks you down. It's very hard to. I couldn't have this conversation, for instance, if I was having a cluster attack. I'd be kind of rolling around on the ground. So I had these. I sort of built a life and a career around them, and sort of kept them hidden from view as much as I could for all kinds of reasons that a lot of people hide their headache disorders. Yeah. It's not, the culture can be unkind on that.
I have also hidden my epileptic disorder for that reason.
Yes. Yeah. Many things, right?
I had a neurologist once say like, oh, can you hold down a job? I'm like, I have 3 jobs and I'm getting a PhD. Like, yeah, you can.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, testament really to your own resilience, I have to say, because you don't get a tremendous amount of respect and support while you're doing all of those things. But anyway, I mean, it's nothing that I had ever written about as a journalist. I wrote about, I typically covered climate change and environmental issues. That was sort of my beat for a while. I covered technology, but health and medicine was not something I ever thought I'd write about. And when I started thinking, well, I would like to write a book, I really didn't think about headache at all. And it only came up through conversation with an agent who sort of took a liking to the idea. And that's kind of like where it started. How I managed to convince HarperCollins or Houghton Mifflin at the time to buy it is probably just a matter of right time, right place, alchemy.
Well, it usually is, right?
It usually is. And I think I sort of I came around at a moment when the culture and the publishing industry might have been open to a journalist at the New York Times, which was sort of like that I'm sure they were just thinking, well, that can help sell things. He probably has.
No, it doesn't always.
Yeah, it doesn't always.
As we all know, right?
Does not always, yes. But they were like, okay, that's probably something that we can. And I tried to approach it more as a sort of cultural history of these things rather than strictly a medical textbook, and not a memoir either. I kind of wanted to talk and sort of unpack not just where the science is, but sort of look at why is it that this is such a tough nut to crack, because so many other things get so much attention and money. and headache seems so in some ways pervasive and mundane in a way as a malady goes, and yet it gets very little attention from the scientific community, which I always found
Yeah.
really interesting, and I wanted to explore why that is.
Yeah. Well,
And I think that,
I love
yeah,
that part about your book where you're saying like how we dismiss like, oh, it's just a headache. And you're like,
yeah.
the word just doesn't belong there.
Yeah, sure. But it is, in fact, it's a metaphor for things that are kind of a mere annoyance in our lives. Doing your taxes is a headache. Sitting in traffic is a headache. And so it's easy to sort of understand how that could affect the way we think about a treatment that uses or a disorder that uses the same exact
Right.
word. It gets much more complicated than that,
Yeah.
obviously, but it kind of starts there.
I just
Yeah.
wonder too, because I think, it's not like there's a lot of books on headaches. Not really. Not in a sustained way. I mean, there's books on hidden disability. There's books on all kinds of other maladies,
Mhm.
but even books on hypochondria, which I reviewed not too long ago. But I think
Mhm.
that, here's something so common. I think people kind of go, well, can I write a book about that? Like everybody has headaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet it's not been done. I mean, that was the other thing that I thought was quite interesting. I said that in my review, that while we all go, oh, of course, we all know what headaches are. And yet yours is one of the only books I've really encountered that treats it in this way. So
In this way, and I think that was the key distinction, is that there are a ton of books out there on, how to cure your headache,
yeah, that
how
kind
to,
of
yeah, a
stuff.
lot of self-help kind of
Not
stuff. And
narrative
there are
nonfiction though.
not necessarily. There is some scholarly work
Sure.
Joanna Kempner has done some really great sociological work on this out of Rutgers, and she's written a couple of great books. And there are a couple other books out of the UK. There's a book called Migraine, a history by Foxhall is the last name of the author. But they're very academic, right? I mean, they're
Right,
very
right.
sort of, and I wanted to write a narrative nonfiction popular science book that takes people on a ride through this weird, wacky, and often depressing tableau around this disorder. And you're right, I didn't find another book quite like that. And
What's
maybe
funny,
that's what sold it.
we just kind of do this thing at the book club, and it's not on purpose. I swear it's not. This year, it's all about brains. Like one year, every single book had something to do with sex. David, do you remember that one? There was like vagina, there was a vagina book and
a lot of vagina books. Yeah.
a lot of vaginas
Oh,
in
yes.
that season. So many. Well, we literally did 2 different skits on duck vaginas in the same year. I mean, that just to tell you. But this year it seems to be all about brains. Like we've had so many books about. We had Do I Know You by Whoops, my brain just went. Sadie Dingfelder.
Yeah, Dingfelder. Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of books about brains, and I think that's such a cool thing, because it's almost like the zeitgeist. I feel like the Peculiar Book Club picks up a kind of narrative nonfiction zeitgeist every year. We're like, oh, this must be a thing.
Rise of the Zombie Bugs is kind of about the brain.
It is kind of about the brain. I know it is. Zombies eat brains. I mean, hey.
Yeah. I mean, that's, it's interesting too that you say that, because that was something that really came up a lot in the book when I was researching it, is that for a long time, it really wasn't even thought of as a brain disorder, headache disorders. It sort of was just, it shared a lot in common with, oh, you're just too stressed out, your blood pressure is up, you need to relax a little bit. So, I mean, in the emotional sense that it had to do with the brain, sure, but it wasn't thought of as an actual disorder involving how the brain functions, which is what we're sort of finally coming around to learning is the case.
Which is weird, because like, well, it happens in here.
Yeah.
Well, with my epileptic disorder, because the symptoms were so weird, people kept telling me it's all in your head, and the thing is, it was, but like in my actual head, not just in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, we have questions now all queued up, and I'm gonna just have us pop into our announcements before I forget to do them, and then we're gonna start walking through them. Excuse me. First of all, starting out, just so y'all know, we're on social media, kind of all of them. Join us out there. I'm probably on Blue Sky most of all. Blue Sky and Facebook for this. I'm on Blue Sky, and for Facebook for our group here is pretty big. So join us there.
I just got reinstated on Blue Sky. If I don't know how many of you follow me, but if you saw some like crazy reposts, it's because I got hacked.
Yes,
so
I
they,
remember
like,
that. But
Oh,
you're back.
no.
You're back.
I'm back. Yeah, they like
You're
shut
back.
down my account. They're like, you're doing crazy spam things, and I'm like, I didn't even know. They closed my account so fast, I didn't even know I did it. But
Oh my gosh. Oh,
yeah,
that's so
I'm
funny.
back. It's all solved.
You're back from outer space. All right, now
That
we'll
was fun.
refollow you.
Yeah.
I'll reboost you up there.
There you
I
go.
have a lot of followers, and I'm not even sure how that happened, but you know, I don't have that many friends. I don't know. So next up we have newsletter. If you want to hear from us, that is no longer the correct subscribe page. Stephanie, I know you're up here. Could you throw in the correct subscribe page up here? I know you changed it.
I'll update it
We
for next time.
moved to a different we moved to a different platform because I don't know if y'all noticed this, but we run this thing on a shoestring, and the various mailer platforms just keep getting more expensive every year. So we're trying a new one, and I'll have to put the new thing up there, but she'll have it in the text there. By the way, say hi to Book Frolic, which is Stephanie, who is our PA, who I could not live without. So
Hi, Stephanie.
hey, Stephanie. The newsletter is a great place to get stuff if you are sick and tired of social media, which you might be. And also, they usually start off with me giving a little musing about something, which is usually me being sort of cute and humorous. Oh yes, you can still join membership. Now it's getting kind of late in the year, but not a bad time to start thinking about next year. We're always we will have 2 more of our VIP events. One is our big Halloween party, and the other one is, which I need to get started on pretty soon, actually, is our live mystery party, which is actually you get to participate in, which will be a lot of fun. You get to interview the suspects, and there will be little video insets. It's going to be great. Yeah, for as little as $5 a month, and we appreciate it because that's how we pay for things like music and
the
licensing.
first two VIP nights were a lot of fun.
They were a lot of fun.
One of them, but it was
we did break the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we broke we got kicked off.
You might want to still get in there for those VIP events this year.
You might just, yes.
Gonna be pretty cool.
Oh, hi, Susan. Susan's here. I like the little wave there. All right.
Coming up next.
Oh, our book cocktail. Okay. Tom, this is for you. And this is a really fun one because Kat can't be here tonight. She's had some family things happen, but she creates all of our cocktails. She's our cocktail maven. And she decided to choose one that was non-alcoholic because alcohol not being great for headaches. It has blueberries, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, and ginger root, which has been used over the years for headache treatment because of the same reasons. And so she's created this lovely drink, which we put up names for people to vote on. And I jokingly said we should call it a blueberry clusterfuck.
I love it.
And that was the winning name by like
And in
miles.
a landslide. Yeah. Yeah, this is like Bodie McBoatface all over again.
Oh yeah, just a quick note. Leanne reminds me, use live chat. Sometimes when you come onto the chat, it accidentally puts you in like top chat or whatever. Use live chat because then you can follow all the weird things that are happening over there. It's good stuff. This is actually really good. It's very refreshing for this time of year. And since cluster headaches are a bit of a clusterfuck, I thought, well, why not?
It's amazing. Yes. Have you actually tried it? You've made it?
It's good. It's good.
Okay.
Did you try it? Have you tried it?
No,
It's good.
It looks good. During the right time of year, I might even add a little dash of alcohol.
Yeah. When it's not a problem. But yeah, I tend to summer and alcohol, heat and alcohol does terrible things to my brain for headache wise. So I tend to steer. In the wintertime next to a fire, a little single malt. I'm all about that. But right now this looks really great. It is very great. Oh, says I shared the link to the newsletter, but I think it's hidden, needs approval because it disappeared. Oh, I don't know.
I didn't see anything pop up on the backside.
Okay, Book Frolic, can you send it in the private? Can you talk in the private chat? Can she talk in the private chat, Dave?
No, she cannot.
She cannot. Okay. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll get it to you.
I'll get
I
it in
promise.
there, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, Peculiar Movie Club coming up. So we do a movie themed around the books we read. So I actually need your help on this one because I have 2 choices for your book. So we're behind. We just released our May movie, which was The Godfather. For June, we're doing the TV show Brilliant Minds for face buying this. For July, for being on drugs, we're doing Requiem for a Dream. For August, I narrowed it down to 2 choices. There's really 2 movies that really feature a character that suffers. One from cluster headaches, one from migraines. So Pi
Really?
came out in 1998, which is Darren Aronofsky's first big film. Like Darren Aronofsky's first actual film. Pi, the main character suffers from cluster headaches, or we
I had
could
no
go
idea.
with Shutter Island. And on Shutter
Oh.
Island, Leonardo DiCaprio's character suffers from migraines. So does
From
anyone have any?
migraine?
Yeah.
So Pi. I had no idea that cluster headache was named in this film. That's
Oh.
true. Wow. Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to watch it and see if it's named or
just talked about in the
referenced in some way, because I found writing the book, it was very hard for me to find cultural references to cluster headache in anywhere.
That
I mean,
seems
it
like a
sounds
vote
we need
for
to do
Pi.
Pi then. Yeah.
I think we
okay.
do.
maybe I over.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, if
There
they,
you go.
for
I'm
sure.
all in.
That's gonna be our August movie then. We're going with Pi.
I'm gonna watch it this weekend.
It's
Yeah.
totally fine. We get a little bit behind in both the movie podcast and the mystery podcast, because I am well behind in the mystery podcast as well. I promise these things will start clocking over a little bit faster in the fall, but boy, is summer a busy time.
Yeah.
It
a little
is.
tough.
It is.
Tis.
Okay.
Is that it? I think that's it, right?
That's it. Yep. That's it
That's
for
it.
now.
That's all right. That's all we got.
Back to your questions now.
Back to the questions. Okay. Sorry, guys. We were a little bit behind here. So first of all, Leanne asks, why don't other mammals have headaches, or do they?
Well, that actually came up a couple times in the book too, and I think that the general consensus was, a mix between, well, we can't know for sure, but it does not seem that other mammals experience anything quite like what we have when we think about headache. And whether or not why that might be is a matter of pure speculation, as is, why is it the fact that we as humans have headache disorders at all? Because especially as common as migraine is, there was some speculation among the scientists that I talked to that it ought to have been bred out of the species in some way. It's this weird burr that like continues on the genetic code for a reason that must have there must be something else that we aren't seeing that offers some benefit in order for it to stick around, or at least it's not enough to make it sort of wash away. But I did have a scientist talk to me about how he has studied his dog and tried to look for signs. We rarely see a dog kind of laying on the ground, holding its head and sort of moaning. And I think we can speculate that they probably do not have headache disorders. Why that would be, I couldn't even begin to speculate. I think it may have something to do with the size of our brain.
Susan suggests it's because they don't have jobs and mortgages.
That too. Yes. Had I been as witty as Susan, I would have come up with that myself. But,
actually, so interestingly enough, I had a veterinarian tell me that cats can suffer sinus headaches. And that.
But how would you know? How would you?
Yeah, how would you know?
How would you know?
But she apparently, because they get a lot of upper nasal problems, and that they'll suffer like pain in their, they'll close their eyes and stuff like that. She thinks that they suffer sinus headaches. But again, that's a vet, not the cat. Hasn't actually said that. So.
yes, and I have no doubt that animals suffer all kinds of things that are analogous to what we do. We know they do, but it's the pain that we can't really sort of right. That's akin to a problem that we have in terms of communicating our own pain to each other. None of us really knows. I cannot fathom what your pain might feel like, and you can't mine. Right. It's the most subjective thing there actually really is. So
it really is. And it's funny because there are some people who literally I don't feel, this is weirdly off topic, but I don't feel some kinds of pain the way I'm supposed to. So for instance, I have a tendency to burn my hands a lot without noticing. And I once actually got a 3rd-degree burn on my arm because I didn't realize I was on fire. But it's not that I can't feel things. I can touch stuff. And I was later told that is common among autistic people, that certain like skin sensory things are like on one hand, we're hypersensitive to like, I can't stand a tag on my neck. But on the other hand, I'm like, I'm on fire. Oh, I didn't know, so it's bizarre how people experience these things.
Yeah. And how pain can be so variegated across the species in terms of how we feel it. And there is no, I opened the book with this, but there's literally no test that we have, despite all of our technology, that we have the faces, right? Is you a happy face? Are you sort of a sort of middling face, or are you a very sad face? And that's how we determine what kind of pain we're experiencing.
We might have a solution for that.
Oh boy.
We might have a solution for that.
I queued you up, and you weren't even expecting me to do that.
I almost feel like we need to jump right into it here real quick.
We can go for it.
Here we go. I can't wait.
All right. Hi, Peculiars. We all know that common pain scale we've been using for years at the doctor's office, that 1 through 10 slight variations on the same pain face. It's just not good enough. We need a new scale, something that really describes the pain that we are feeling, and I'm calling it the Peculiar Pain Scale. So here we go, 1 through 8. Here's a much better way to describe the pain you're feeling the next time you're at the doctor's office. We'll start with number 8. Number 8, biting your tongue or cheek. A very common pain we've all felt. It's sharp, it's sudden, but it goes away. It hurts, yes, but we can survive it. And it's really hard to find a gif of someone biting their tongue, so we just have chewing. Number 7, we've got stubbing your toe. A little bit more painful. It lasts a little bit longer. Still a very acute pain. Something we all understand. We've all experienced. Oof, stubbing your toe can be really painful. All right, number 6, we have hitting your thumb with a hammer. Oh my goodness, what a sharp pain that is. It lasts for a while. There's gonna be some bruising. Hitting your thumb with a hammer. All right, we've got number 5, we've got a classic belly flop. If you've never belly flopped in the pool, let me tell you, it is a pain you will feel from top to bottom. It covers the whole body, not acute pain anymore. We're talking whole body pain here. All right, top 4 now. We've got number 4, we've got period cramps. I can't speak from experience. I have heard, I've seen, can be quite devastating, quite painful. I mean, literally crippled over in pain at this point. Period cramps come in at number 4 on our list. Number 3, getting hit in the nuts. It is an internal pain that is indescribable, and specifically landing on your nuts is a classic way of doing it. So that's your number 3 pain. Number 2, we're getting to some of the most painful things imaginable. Number 2 on our list, giving birth. I mean, is there anything in the world that compare with the pain of giving birth? I don't think as a man I would even be able to describe something except for number 1. Number 1, the most painful thing in human existence, the most painful thing we could possibly describe to our doctors. Number 1 on our list, stepping on a Lego barefoot. We all know it. It is the most painful thing ever. Yes, slightly above childbirth. Stepping on a Lego is the number 1 pain on the Peculiar Pain Scale. So there you have it, 1 through 8. I hope these are more helpful the next time you go to your doctor.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I hope that helps. I really hope that helps.
I was waiting. I was wondering if like ice cream headache would show up.
Oh, ice cream headache, passing a kidney stone, Leanne said.
Yeah, afterwards, Maggie pointed out a couple things to me. She's like, I don't know, just burning yourself or getting shot or. In fact, Anthro Girl yeah, Maggie wanted me to point out that absolutely not. Giving birth is number 1 on the list. So yeah. She's like, the Lego was the joke part of the video, right? I was like, yes.
Book Frolic says, my doctor has both given birth twice and passed kidney stones, and she said the kidney stones were worse.
Oh.
You know what? I literally had a double mastectomy, boobs gone, all that kind of stuff. Not anything like as painful as a root canal. Like, not the root canal surgery, the thing that happens before you get the root canal. Like, that was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I was my brain doesn't work, you know. And it's acute too, which not cute, acute, but
yeah. Well, that was
when you described cluster headache, I wondered if that was anything like a root canal pain or not, but like all over.
I mean, I have not had that experience, so I don't know, but I imagine it's got to be up there.
It's like a cluster headache in the way you can't escape it. Like there's no
you
put an ice cube on it. You can't. Yeah, there's no way to.
There's nothing to. Yeah, it's just you.
That's the way I described the cluster too. It's kind of like, I mean, the intensity of it is like if you put your hand on a, well, not you because you don't feel it,
not
Brady,
me.
but if you put your hand on a hot burner. That intensity of pain, but you can't take your hand off. Well, I will say that one thing that the only time in my life I have been on the floor like kicking and screaming was twice. Once was the root canal, and the other one was like it because I did one of those freezing helmet things for cancer thing. They put it on your head because they're supposed to like keep you from losing your hair while you're having chemo. You know what? Lose the hair. That was miserable. Amanda says, I've had to adjust my pain ratings because I underestimate it. Thanks, redhead gene hypermobility.
Well, you know, pain and it changes over time too. Like I have gone through a lot of injuries as a kid. I broke many bones, and before my broken bones, I was a big baby, and And when I broke my leg in 5th grade, and the principal's on the phone with my dad going, and he can hear me wailing in the background, and my dad's like, "Well, are you sure he broke his leg? He's always been a little sensitive to pain."
He's a bit of a drama queen. Yes, he puts on a show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah, I haven't
Stephanie
heard that
says her
experience.
husband lives with cluster headaches and has passed a kidney stone, so she's going to ask him which one is
Okay,
worse.
there we go.
Oof,
So
boy,
I did not
yeah,
know.
that's
I
rough.
did not know.
I
that,
mean,
Stephanie.
pain is also like, it depends on your body, right? I mean, all of us are built, we're very similar in the macro sense, but when you zoom in, I mean, you might have more pain receptors in your gums or in your hands than I do. I might have more pain receptors in my back, and so a lot of this just really comes down to anatomy and individual idiosyncrasies.
Right.
So
Oh wait, we did that one. Did the mammals?
yeah,
Sorry,
we did that
did
one. I gave an unsatisfactory answer.
My 4-year-old son scraped his knee on the driveway yesterday, and he is currently walking around like he broke his leg. So
Oh,
I think his pain receptors are getting adjusted.
The
a
apple
little
falls far from the tree, as your dad might say. Yeah.
Amanda says I haven't got a migraine since I got NeuroLens glasses. What is NeuroLens glasses?
Yeah, I don't
what
know
that is.
NeuroLens.
Tell us.
Can
what
she
that is.
explain?
I don't know. I need to find out. So let us know.
I mean, there are
I'm
lots of
curious.
interesting devices kind of coming out that people swear by. Vagus nerve stimulators. Have you ever tried those? I don't know. I've not.
No, I have not. I have
Yeah,
tried.
you kind of hold it to your neck.
No,
and
I mean I've
some
done
people
vagus
swear by
nerve
them.
breathing and stuff, but no.
All right, let's see if this helps. Let me share my screen here. Yes, allow.
What are you doing? What do you got?
On NeuroLens.
Oh, you
Relief
did.
Okay.
All right.
Technology.
What
What's the
does it do?
technology? Patented and contoured prism technology and the revolutionary N3 virtual headset work together to deliver unrivaled patient outcomes. So it must change. It must be something with your vision.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Huh.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I wonder if it works for people whose migraine is not triggered by vision.
Anthogirl says, Tom, you haven't tried them? I wanted to get one for my sister who is crippled by headaches.
I have definitely not tried this. No. But I mean, I say try anything.
Really, seriously, I took that away from your book.
Ecosystem. Yeah, there's such a wide ecosystem of remedies out there, and the pharmaceutical ones vary in how well they work. Often depending on the person. They also, our bodies adapt. So if something that really works is really nifty for you in the beginning can stop working after a while, and it's sort of the journey of anyone with any pain disorder, but certainly headaches, that you're going to have to try lots and lots of different stuff, and whatever
Susan
gives
said,
you relief, God bless. Yeah.
Susan says the last time my vagus got stimulated, I passed out on the floor.
I want to try it. I mean,
sexual.
I've heard people say it's like a really fascinating sensation to do. I mean, that vagus nerve is a really powerful nerve in the body. I mean, it's connecting your gut to your brain. It's really a super highway for all kinds of information.
I've done vagus nerve breathing, and I do cognitive behavioral therapy because that is basically how I got my I had chronic digestive issues, IBS and other stuff. And I got all that under control using cognitive behavioral therapy and vagus nerve breathing. However, I have tried them on headaches and it don't work. At least it didn't work for me. So I was like,
have you tried the actual, like, it's like electromagnetic signals, pulses put right into your neck on the vagus nerve?
I've not tried that.
I mean, I'm not selling it. I don't necessarily endorse it, but some people, yeah. The problem with the cluster headache is you have to catch it like as it's happening and try. And it's such unlike migraine, which can last for days. The cluster headache, which is, a stroke, it lasts about an hour and then it just kind of vanishes and it's gone. So you have to kind of have this stuff at your disposal. Yeah.
It sounds horrible.
I think you mentioned in the book Botox, right? There was some ideas that Botox could help or something like that.
Botox is definitely, people use it for migraine all the time. It's a really big, not so much for cluster, I don't think. I did try it for it did absolutely nothing for me.
More Barris family stories. My father had a pinched nerve in his shoulder and tried it for that, and actually the worst case and almost worst case scenario happened where he got botulism poisoning from it, and like
Oh, geez.
had all for like 6 months they couldn't feel all sorts of systems, you know,
Oh
going
my
God.
haywire, and like yeah. he
Okay,
spent about
that's
6
terrible.
months just on the couch.
I missed
Yeah.
the first part of like why did he get the Botox in the first place?
Like a pinched nerve, a really bad
okay.
nerve, pinched nerve in his shoulder
Wow.
and his neck that he's
Wow.
been dealing
There's-
with for years now.
Sometimes you just got to live with the thing. Speaking of which, Book Frolic, Stephanie says her husband says the pain between cluster headache and kidney stone is different, but if he had to live with one constantly forever, he'd choose cluster headache over kidney stones.
I have
All
not
right.
had a kidney stone, but I
Yeah.
believe it. I mean, it's pain.
That
I mean,
sounds-
I make a
sounds
lot
bad.
in the book about how having the pain be in your head is sort of a different kind of thing. There's a geographic aspect to this that often makes head pain when it's really severe, different from other kinds of pain. But I have to imagine that kidney stone pain is also the geography of that.
Yeah.
Strikes me as really
Geography is
also,
a problem in this.
yes.
In
Those
this
tubes are
scenario.
meant for fluid, not solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's sort of like,
Amen.
I don't normally I know what the birth canal is for, but still, you're pushing something like a watermelon out something the size of a lemon seems a bit rough.
Yeah.
Leanne says, you want headache sufferers to have a public voice. What stands in the way of that?
I think a couple of things. I mean,
Good
I think
question.
one major thing that stands in the way, and it is a terrific question, is us. We're often afraid to kind of come out and just have frank conversations about chronic pain disorders of any kind, because the culture has tended to not respond very well to that. You tend to get marked as, a weak link. People worry that it's going to affect their careers. We can't
give them a promotion. They're flaky.
And it's migraine is often associated with the idea of excuse making, of someone who can't, is unreliable. And so it's no wonder that we end up just kind of clamming up about it and not wanting to sort of make a big deal. So that's part of it. And I also think that that is a direct byproduct of how the culture sort of deals with other people's pain, whatever it happens to be. And we don't deal with very well. I feel like it's starting to change, and there are some really great advocacy groups that are forming to sort of speak for people with migraine and other headache disorders. But it's slow going. There's a lot of pain out there.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things I think is interesting is, and you do talk about this in the book, that for a lot of people, when someone says someone has a headache, I mean, it's even to the point that this is a joke, right? It's women. It's like, no sex tonight. She has a headache, right? This is like a joke that is longstanding.
Not tonight. I have a headache.
Right. And yet, if I'm not mistaken, for cluster headache, it's usually men, right? Isn't there doesn't it skew towards men?
Yeah, it's but the numbers really tell the tale here. So yes, I think it's migraine affects women by a ratio of like 3 to 1. And it's kind of the reverse for cluster headache, such that we know, although we're finding out that more and more women have cluster headache as well. And
we just don't talk about it. We're just like,
I mean, the fact that, but the truth is that we're talking about a population of something like 50 million women, 50 million people anyway, in the United States alone. Over 1 billion people worldwide have these things. And it is true that the vast majority of them are women. And we don't have to, I don't need to give you or anyone a lesson on how women's health has been treated historically. But the fact that we don't talk about it has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Anthro Girl, she says, I was thinking that in the beginning when we were talking about the lack of research and coverage. It's always the patriarchy. The patriarchy messes up everything. But it is true. And it does make me wonder, we were talking about period cramps and childbirth and things like that. Cramps were something that we know, like, you weren't allowed to skip gym class. You weren't allowed. I mean, literally, you were having something happening in your body that is the worst thing you can imagine. You can't even stand up, and they're like, "Get back out there!" Like there's this sense that you're making it up or you're being weak. And I just wonder, if we later find out that women are having cluster headaches, if it's just like, oh well, another period, like, is it just sort of like, I might as well not tell anybody. I'll just tell them I'm on my period.
Well, I mean, I like to think that things are becoming a little more sophisticated, although it's, if that is true, if we are starting to sort of become a little more receptive to all of these disorders in both men and women, it is a fairly new phenomenon. And we're recovering from literally a century or more of dismissal, of, outright misogyny.
Right.
You can go back and read these clinical textbooks about even migraine headache, and the men were always described as, well, he's just very dedicated and thoughtful.
Yeah.
He's kind of a genius. But the women with the same disorder were described as
like, so weak.
Yes, and just a little.
Yes, yeah. Well, like really Leanne says here, she says astronaut selection was like, we can't include women because health issue, right? This is total misunderstanding about their health issues. Anther girl talking about wearing those portable, I know what you mean, heating pads at school all the time. Yeah. Tallying up all the health issues I've had that have been written off because I'm a woman makes me ragey, says Amanda. I feel that. I mean, really, if a man goes to the doctor, it's really serious. Yeah,
that's true. And I interviewed, I mean, that was one of the things I really wanted to do in the book too, was, it didn't want to just be about my experience and recognizing that the vast majority of headache sufferers are women. I wanted to talk to them too. And even today, I mean, I had people who contemporaneously go to their primary care physician, which, by the way, is probably the doctor they're most likely to engage with because there are so few headache disorders at all.
Sure.
Not disorders, but headache doctors or doctors who specialize in that disorder for all the reasons we're describing. And their primary care physicians would even say, you just seem a little, you need to take a break. You need to just tense. Sort of, you're a little tense, maybe, and that's not that far off from, 50 years ago when the doctor might have also said, you should just have sex with your husband a little more and you'll stop having headaches. This is literally said in,
I know. Well, and my other favorite one, no matter what condition you bring when you go to the doctor as a woman, at least one of the recommendations will be, you could lose some weight, like as though that has anything to do with whether or not you have migraines. But it's out there. They're going to say it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So Stephanie asked, have you been able to pinpoint specific triggers for your cluster headaches?
Not really. I used to think it was seasonal, which I think is fairly common for a lot of folks, but it never fit that pattern neatly enough for me to say it was definitely a seasonal thing. One thing I can say, and maybe your husband can confirm this, is when I am having a cluster headache cycle, and that's really what distinguishes it from say migraine, is that you go through bouts that last maybe a couple months out of the year, if you're a typical cluster sufferer, and then they just you'll get them every day, multiple times a day, just bam, slam down to the ground, and it's horrible. But then after 2 months, 3 months, they vanish, evaporate, and you might go months or even years between bouts. But when I am in a bout, and I think this is true for almost every cluster patient, a sip of alcohol, sometimes even the scent of alcohol, will instantly cause an attack, and a vicious attack. So that, to me, that's like the most reliable trigger. But I actually have to be in a bout, and if I'm between bouts, I could drink it doesn't anything. Matter. It makes no difference at all.
So interesting. By the way, everybody, you all need to know that Wallace is just very needy tonight. I don't know why. He's just having a little bit of neediness. So
I don't know.
Maybe he has a headache.
Little headache. Yeah.
A little headache. He's a good boy. All right. So here's a question we got here. This is from Leanne. She says, did you expect to encounter such pronounced discord and dissension among researchers and federal funders, which is an interesting part of the book?
I had a sense of it going in, yes, but I didn't realize how pronounced it really was. And researchers definitely are very divided over, where the seat of headache even exists. If you're interested in science at all, that's a really great, oh, what a cute kitty. That's a really great part of the journey in the book is just these warring factions that either locate the genesis of headache in somewhere outside in the peripheral nervous system, while others are quite convinced that it starts with the brain and the central nervous system, and they will never agree. I was less, I guess, prepared for how I sort of came in knowing, well, with a journalist perspective, which is that there are lots of disorders, there are people dying of all kinds of terrible things, and I'm not that surprised, or I shouldn't be, that headache disorders don't generate tons of funding from the National Institutes of Health, for instance, our largest funder. But as I got into the data and talked to enough people who have studied it in far more sophisticated ways than me, I started to really believe that there's something more sinister at work, a real bias that is mixed up with misogyny, but not just that. I think there's a sense that headache is not a serious thing among funders at the federal level, and they acquire that sensibility from all kinds of things that are percolating in the culture that I'm not sure how to dismantle them other than to continue talking about them. But to answer the question directly, I was incredibly surprised at how, some really, really great studies being proposed for funding at NIH, and they just kind of get laughed off as like, well, this isn't serious work.
I'm wondering what it's going to take. So for this is kind of sideways from this, but take GLP-1. The people are using it for weight loss and other things, but what they've noticed as a byproduct of this is that the metabolism seems to be connected to all these other things, right? They're like, oh, look, you fix the metabolism and you fix heart problems, and it fixes kidney problems, and it fixes, and they're suddenly going, maybe metabolism is something we should really pay attention to. And there's also almost no funding for that either. Like now there is suddenly everybody's like, oh, metabolism. But for years, there wasn't anybody no one was going to specialize in metabolism, So that was almost considered as like a nutritionalist kind of thing. Like that wouldn't be serious research, and it's just interesting, it does make you wonder, like at what point or what has to happen before suddenly they go, oh, actually, this is something we should put money on.
I talk about this a little in the book, but there is that sort of paradigm stasis, right? The science in any discipline sort of gets into a rut where everybody kind of believes they have it figured out, and most of the research that get funded has to sort of be in that groove. And if it's outside of that, you're not really visible, you're not really heard. And in some ways you can understand that. That's like true in a lot of human disciplines, but it can really sort of stall progress by decades because everybody's kind of stuck in a cul-de-sac. And this novel thing, it happened with ulcers, right? And we attribute it to stress. We attribute it until suddenly, there were people who were saying, I think it might be a bacteria, but they couldn't be heard.
Oh, it's H. pylori. Who knew?
Who would have guessed? Yes.
Whoever would have thought? So here's a question coming from Anthrogirl. Does the barometric pressure do anything? And this is a good question, because I do notice there's certainly some kind of relationship between whether or not I get headaches, but not necessarily but I can't figure out what it is. I can tell that I get them more at the changes of season than I do the rest of the year, but it doesn't seem to matter if it's a high pressure system, low pressure system. Like that doesn't seem to matter. So I am curious. Did you come across anything like that?
Yes. I came across lots of people who respond to various environmental factors differently, and barometric pressure is certainly one that comes up. It's not perfect. There is some, and these are small studies, it's hard to get a global sense of things, but there is some sense that relative elevation can actually matter, where the pressures are different, up high and down low. But I tend to think that none of these are answers for everyone, and that what we're experiencing, particularly with migraine, is a brain that is naturally evolved to be aware of its surroundings and to respond to it. And in people who have these disorders, their brains are overreacting to certain aspects of that. And in your case, it might be the pressure. In other people's case, it might be precipitation, or it might be
or like allergies.
Well, certainly allergies, yes. And allergies is a good example, because there was a long time where we thought that histamine really was sort of the cause of almost every headache disorder.
Yeah.
It's a naturally occurring hormone, and the thinking was that if we just give people histamine exposure, this is, by the way, still done in some clinics in the US, where they bring people in on an inpatient basis and just load them up with histamine as a way of, desensitizing the body to this allergen, and that may or may not cure their headache. There's not a lot of science to support this, but there is, histamine has long been thought to be a target. It's never really sort of yielded any perfect cures, but yeah.
I'm fascinated by this concept of like the brain overreacting, because the reason that cognitive behavioral therapy works for some people, not everybody, but for some people who have IBS, is because, like in my case, there's nothing actually wrong with my body. Like, now there's lots of things wrong with forget I said that. There's a lot of things wrong with my body, but with my digestive tract, there's no physical architectural problem in there, right?
Yep.
But my brain decided that food was evil. And so when I would eat, my brain's like, I'm being poisoned, and would just send all of this inflammation to my system. And so for me, it worked. I did cognitive behavioral therapy for a year. I still do it off and on. I have like a self-hypnosis program. It's very interesting. If anybody's curious, you email me, I'll tell you about it. But it worked for me. But what I found out, so I was really proselytizing for a while. I was like, this is amazing. But then I had friends use it who their condition was kind of caused by other stuff. It was, they had other issues going on. They had chronic ulcers, they had other things. And it's like, okay, that it doesn't work for everything. If you have chronic GERD, that you've got that. It doesn't necessarily take that away. So, but at least some of the time, and maybe it's for headaches too. For some people, it could be the brain just going, and then for other people, it could be something completely different.
I think I tend to think that in most cases of classic migraine, it is, this is a profound oversimplification, but it is the brain going to something in a way that we don't know. And whether or not any individual is going to have success with cognitive behavioral therapy, I think is going to depend on a million other factors, even if that is in fact what's going on. I mean, it takes a certain amount of discipline and resilience to sort of push through CBT and sort of get to the place that you did. And I did talk to some people who just couldn't do it, especially when the pain was really acute, and they just couldn't think their way out of this
I've never
battle, no matter how hard they tried.
I've never managed to get cognitive behavioral therapy to work for my migraines when I'm having one anyway. But it might,
I think there's no reason to think that you couldn't, with some effort, learn to calm a migraine with CBT. Sure.
Right.
Does it seem like
this is Amanda. She says, does it seem like headaches are considered less serious? It's some headaches. Sorry, I missed a word. Does it seem like some headaches are considered less serious? It's been a year since I listened to the book, and in my experience, tension headaches aren't taken as seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say, in that, tension headache is by far the most common headache disorder. In fact, all of us probably experience a tension headache at one time or another. It's related to dehydration or, maybe posture, life. Yes. And it can be really debilitating for some people. But it's also, one of the more treatable, it's versions of a headache disorder, particularly with over-the-counter drugs. Like, a lot of people with chronic tension headaches can manage with a little ibuprofen and maybe some lifestyle adjustments. I'm not diminishing it, and I don't mean to, but for someone, for instance, who has chronic migraine or acute cluster headache, an aspirin or some ibuprofen, a bottle of ibuprofen is not going to do a damn thing. It's not going to touch it.
It laughs at your pain.
It doesn't come. I can't even. Sometimes I think I've described it as using an eyedropper to put out an inferno. I mean, it's literally is not even going to get close.
Yeah.
So
do you notice the difference? Like, if a tension headache comes on, are you like, this isn't?
Oh, I get tension headaches all the time. Yeah, I mean, just like anybody else. Yeah.
You have to wait a minute and be like, is this it? Is this the
No,
confusing that one.
There's something like
now you can with a migraine,
I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
if I get a whisper of a cluster coming on, I mean, first of all, it's a bit of panic because, like right now I've gone 2 years, I think, since my last cluster attack, which is not terribly unusual. But if I get that shadow that I know is completely different, it's not even pain. It's just like something, just a hint. I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, sorry. I don't know if I
No. We use that all. We named your drink the clusterfuck. I'm just saying.
That's right. Okay. Oh, fuck.
You're
I feel
okay.
the cluster headaches are coming. And it's just a different animal entirely.
It's funny because migraine, I can sometimes mistake tension and migraine because migraines are slower for me anyway. They're a slower build, and I'm like, oh, it's a tension headache. Oh shit, it's not a tension. But so it sort of takes a minute. But yeah, cluster headaches sound different. Davey, I just noticed what time it was. We got a quiz.
Yes. So we didn't even warn. Normally we warn the author, but we didn't even warn Tom about this.
That's right.
We do a quiz segment at
the
end of the show. It's okay. The peculiars are here to help. It's multiple choice. It's a team effort here. You do have to give the final answer. You actually threw out a great idea for one, which we could have done just crazy remedies for headaches on the internet, but it always comes from a very small thread in your book that I like to pull and see where it takes me. And I'm a lover of stand-up comedy, and I don't even remember what the context was, but you mentioned the legendary 80s comedian Stephen Wright.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to play a little. Do you remember the context of what you were writing?
I do. Okay. Yes. Yes. It's the one who was flipping the switch on the wall. Yes. Right. Yeah.
That's right.
So and it was annoying someone in Germany. Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to play finish the joke or guess the punchline for 3 Stephen Wright jokes. And I'll do my best Stephen Wright impression here. So, these are so good. Just read a list of Stephen Wright jokes if you ever want to just entertain yourself for a while. So he was doing a bit where he was going on and on about his roommate, and he said he was a multi-millionaire. Want to know how he made all his money? A, he designed the little diagrams that tell which way to put batteries in. B, he was the model for the crosswalk guy. C, he invented the arrow symbols on the VCR.
Wow. I mean, I just want to be clear, Davey, you came up with the alternative answers here.
Yes,
that's impressive because they're all very Stephen Wrighty.
Well, you've got a little bit of help.
I have to guess.
Amanda says C. Leanne says C. So they're helping you out.
Okay, I'm going to go with the audience. I guess they must know. Or they're looking it up online, which is cheating. Yeah.
All right. The answer is, how did he make all his money? Well, he designed the little diagram way to put the batteries in.
Curse is misled by the peculiar.
The crosswalk guy is a terrific one.
The crosswalk guy that was going to be my guess too. We would have also been wrong.
Yeah. So all 3 of them, like, I love that punchline was just such a specific thing that we like. Someone had to pick it up, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Joke, I should say question number 2, but really joke number 2. By the way, the quiz is called this week. I used spot remover on my dog.
On my dog.
Probably his most famous joke of all time.
I like the long thing he does about stealing the doll eyes from the factory and putting them in his pockets. That's the weirdest one for me. If you ever want to ask me questions about that one, I think I can reproduce it.
All right, joke number 2. I used to be an airline pilot. I got fired because I kept locking the keys in the plane. A, they caught me jiggling the handles of the doors over the wings. B, they caught me trying to get in under the plane, smuggled in a suitcase. Or C, they caught me on an 80-foot step ladder with a coat hanger.
I hope it's C.
I think it's got to be C.
I like how Anthro Girl said peculiar fail.
Peculiar fail.
Trying to get in the plane. Smuggled in a suitcase. No, it's got to be
going with C again. Rachel says C. I feel like it's C, but then again, Amanda goes C.
I'm getting strong C.
See, I try to make, obviously I try to mix up the order in the multiple choice, and I was worried about putting this one last because it was the funniest. It was definitely the punchline. It was C. They covered an 80-foot step ladder with a coat hanger.
I use spot reminder.
The other ones are good though. Like, the jokes are quick, but they put a perfect picture in your mind. I think that's what works so well about it. All right, joke number 3.
That reminds me of the Far Side. Like, he's sort of the stand-up kind of, like just that one Gary Larson kind of like
one cell. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
All right, joke 3. I collect rare photographs. I have 2. One of Houdini locking his keys in his car. The other is a rare picture of A, Norman Rockwell beating up a child. B, Andy Warhol eating Progresso soup. Or C, Jackson Pollock drinking from a child's sippy cup.
It's gotta be A. It's
A is the funniest thing I've ever heard. So
it's the
Davey,
funniest
you came
one
up with
on
A.
there. If
came
you
up with
did A, then my God, that's.
All right, peculiars. What do you think? I'm going to give them a
Progresso.
chance to get their answers in.
I have 2. One Houdini locking.
So Leanne says B.
Houdini
Andy
Locky
Warhol eating progressive soup. Progressive. I said progressive soup. Now that's funny.
Yeah. All right.
It's
the
probably
answer
D.
is-
It's a little more, a little more rated G.
Yeah,
I guess.
there is. No, you nailed it. The answer is A.
You nailed it.
Norman Rockwell beating up a child. I was just trying to keep up with the master. I mean,
Amazing.
Oh my God. That's so
yeah.
funny. That was really funny. A
That's-
is the
there you
funniest.
yeah.
That's good stuff. Yes.
Oh my
There you go.
goodness.
That is our
That
Stephen
was our
Wright
author quiz.
Yep.
Stephen Wright quiz.
Absolutely
I did
brilliant.
see him.
Yeah.
I saw him in concert and I didn't know who he was. So I was dating Mark, and this is Mark's way of impressing me, was take me to Stephen Wright live. And Rachel's like, yes, for C. That is the most unbelievable. And so I didn't know who he was. And so I was just sitting there and all of these jokes are coming, and I was just like, for the first 15 minutes, I'm like, what?
What is
And
this?
then but after that, you just laugh the whole time. But like, it took me 15 minutes to just like acclimate to Stephen Wright because I didn't know who he was. I know we've gone a little bit over time, but I wanted to pop this in here. Susan said, your book is good at describing all the different types of headaches and how overwhelming it is to get help. It's so frustrating when seeking treatment. And I think that is one of the lovely things about the book, is that it really does, kind of put you in there. Did you just see Susan put my favorites? I put instant coffee in the microwave. I went back in time.
That's a good. That's akin to the one I put in the book too. Yeah.
Yeah.
These
Yeah,
sort of
the-
like Salvador Dali sort of things that you have to think about for a while.
The other one
I
that
love
I
it.
loved, and I couldn't think of any other tags to it, so I left it off the quiz, was when I was a child, we had a quicksand box in the backyard. I was an only child, eventually.
That's a good one too.
Oh God,
Oh,
Stephen.
Yeah. Now I've got to go watch, what is it, Pi, and then resurrect
Yep.
Stephen Wright on
Resurrect
YouTube.
Stephen Wright on
Yep,
YouTube.
definitely.
Yeah, it's well worth doing.
His YouTube channel is definitely going to get a bump after this.
Yeah, all the peculiars are gonna like spread out and go get Stephen Wright jokes. Tom, thank you so much for being on the show. Peculiars, thank you for being on here too. This has been a great night, so much so that I lost track of time, and so we went a little bit over like we normally do. But yeah, so follow Tom. You can get the book anywhere. You can also get it off of our bookclub.org, or sorry, bookshop.org. The Headache, and you can pick it up from there if you like. You can get it anywhere that books are sold. And Tom, where else can we sort of find you and follow you and hear from you?
You can find me at tomzeller.com. You can find me at Tom Zeller Jr. on Twitter, same on Blue Sky. I'm not the most active social media person, I have to say, and becoming less so. And you can also find our work at Undark. I want to give a shout out to Undark, which is the magazine
love
that we
Undark.
publish. Undark.org. Lots of good science reporting and writing there too.
One of my first publications was at Undark, so thanks very much for that.
Is that when was that?
It wasn't my very first. It was for when I was doing Mr. Humble and Dr. Butcher, my book on the brain. Head cancer. So that was one of mine.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah,
back in the day. So yeah, Undark, very good. I have you listed on all of my little bio things that I published in Undark. Bylines
amazing.
at Undark. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being on, and thanks to
Thank
all
you
of
guys.
you for coming to a place where, if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in the night. Don't make a big mistake, 'cause you can never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. There is no